Stillness of Dissolution is the fifth full-length album from Australian depressive black metal slash dark metal band Austere. And since reforming back in 2021, after about 11 years off, they've been inspired, and this is the third full-length album they've released since then. It was interesting to see them kind of ease into this and focus on modern sounds and essentially bringing a little bit of that black gaze and the depressive black metal sound in at first, and now focusing much more on a black metal, dark metal kind of sound, which is highly melodic, and this time around driven by guitar hooks to a strong degree. Really interesting discography from this band. I think that if you know the first album and you stopped there, that's a different beast. If you made it to the second album, you'll find that the newer stuff expands more on that thought and that oeuvre, and that's kind of what we're getting here. Let's start out by just checking out a track, and then I'll talk a little bit more about what this record does best and what it does that's new. Getting the dark metal side of this band up front, and especially the first half of this record. They show off these melodic guitar skills, strong vocal hooks. It really is a catchy album right from the get-go, and these songs are striding, somber, and kind of haunting in the way that they develop. It's a really interesting dynamic, and it's much more tuneful with every release from this band. And so this is maybe going to feel a little bit more accessible as an album overall, but it kind of has references to what was catchier and accessible in the 90s in terms of European extreme metal. What I would consider references to Catatonia and maybe Sentenced and that era, while also getting a modern black gaze sound, something that is focusing a little bit beyond atmospheric black metal and moving into some different territory that is outside of the metal realm. And that might bother you, it might not be exactly what you're looking for, and it is very accessible and kind of joyous music at some point. But overall, the total effect of the album is still pretty interesting as a full listen. Essentially, they do a lot with simple guitar hooks to start, and then they bring in these more elaborate songs, which split the difference between black metal, black gaze, and something that is just melodic metal, that it could be considered general melodic metal today in a modern sense, with non-linear song types and less predictable forms put in there that are rooted in atmospheric black metal generation. For me, this is an album that was just an undeniably catchy to start, and then there are a few songs that don't really gel with what I'm interested in. It's not really what I'm looking for, and I'm not really going to return to the album for those songs, but the catchier ones are going to get me to return. I think there's a certain vibe to this album that I enjoyed quite a bit more than I expected, and that was kind of the case with the last two. It was something I wasn't sure if this was for me, but I still sat down and found something I liked every time I turned it on. So that was just kind of my general takeaway from it. As for the depth of the music, the lyrics, I didn't really get there. I didn't really dig in that deep with this because it was just a simple, tuneful, kind of depressive black metal album that had strong dark metal and melodic metal tendencies that really take over this album. So they're headed in that direction. They've been headed in that direction from the reformation, and to me it's still made for a good record and one with strong guitar hooks. So take it as you will. Check it out if you want. It released on June 6th, and go ahead and read my written review for more of my thoughts.